it's Kathleen here. I'm here with my good friend Jennifer Sare. Jennifer is a biocultural anthropologist. So, Jennifer, tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a biocultural anthropologist. I'm also a holistic health coach, personal trainer, and a nutrition and wellness counselor. So that sounds like a lot, but it really all just kind of like mashes together. And it helps paint more of a holistic picture when talking about health and wellness and lifestyle and how to live our best lives in more ways than one. So it all kind of I use the anthropology side for the cultural aspect and like evolution and different types of theories and things like that. And it just between that and the personal training and nutrition and health coaching, like they all just kind of like smash together into this one like integrative awesomeness ball of information. And it makes when we think about our health like as a whole,
Mhm.
like our wellness as a whole, it changes the approach, which is kind of why I like having all of that to kind of squish together into one, because I think it makes me more effective in helping people. So it sounds like a mouthful, but it really all ends up in one, like just holistic wellness kind of realm.
Okay, yeah. So, you really do it all. Like, you're my go to person for all questions health. So, with what you do you have like a favorite position you've had, such as like personal training? Do you just like it all?
Honestly, I was thinking about this the other day, and it's gone in phases in my life. So I started with personal training, and then I realized very quickly that I was missing a piece because my clients would ask me nutrition questions. And as a personal trainer, you can only give like bare minimum nutrition advice. And the advice that you can give is basically like, these are macros, these are micros, here's the food pyramid, or it was the pyramid at the
Right.
time. It's my plate now. That's how long I've been doing this. And so like I added the nutrition component because I felt like I was able to help them a little bit more. And then through anthropology, I started realizing the cultural effects on health and wellness and traditional medicine and complementary medicine and all kinds of things like that. And then I added the holistic health coach certificate to kind of tie it all up. So it's not that I have a favorite, it's that I love all of it, but
Right.
I just recently started realizing how my professional life had progressed into, I started in one area and then I built and made it bigger. And the more understanding I had, the easier it was to understand my health and my client's health as a
Right.
whole. So I don't know that I've had a favorite position. I've learned something in every single position that I've held, whether it's working in a gym, whether it's doing research. So I don't really have a favorite because they all serve a different purpose for different people at different points in their journey, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. A lot of people's health journey I find starts with working out, because when we think of
Yes,
health, a lot of times it's like, oh, physical health. And beyond that, it goes to emotional health and wellness and, even spiritual for some people.
absolutely.
With that, you do it all. So you are all about balancing all of this together.
Yes.
How do you find balance in your own life with your health?
That is tough. It's very tough,
Because I know
especially if you have,
you
say
do
what?
I know you have such a hectic schedule. You truly do it all.
It's I do, and it's too much. You know when you go to a buffet and you haven't eaten well, I say all day. That's not a good choice. But let's say you go to a buffet and you're super hungry and you're like, oh my gosh, all this looks great, and you throw it all on your plate. And by the time you sit down, you're like, why? Why did I do this to myself?
Right.
I either ate too much or there's leftovers and I don't know what to do with them. That's kind of how thinking about work life balance, school life balance, just life balance in general. Um, you saying I do it all, I do, but that is something that I've been working on
Right.
personally, because how am I going to go to work and tell people to work on these things? And, oh, you should do this and you should take care of yourself if I'm not doing it for
Right.
me, you know? But I have like doing this job, I want to help so many people. So keeping that balance is tough. And honestly, the biggest thing that I have learned as far as keeping balance is knowing when and how to say no.
Yes, I find I am such a people pleaser. Like,
Mhm.
oh, can you do this? Sure, sure. And by the time I really look at my schedule, I realize I've committed to so many things. And by the end of the day, I haven't even taken a minute for myself.
Yes, absolutely. And I think just remembering how and when to say no, because if you are not performing at your best, well, in my profession, if I'm not performing at my best, I can't help other people get to
Right.
their best. There's a phrase, I don't remember who it was. Her first name's Terry, and she's a nutritionist with degrees in sports science, and she does TED Talks and YouTube every once in a while, and she pops up here and there. But she has a holistic approach, and one of my favorite things that she always talks about is overworked and underfunctioning. So when you're overworking, you're underfunctioning, and that doesn't just apply to our social lives, our work lives. That goes down to in our bodies to like a cellular level. Our cells are overworked and they start to underfunction, and then it's kind of like the snowball effect. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
So to keep that balance, saying no is important. But I actually, if we take that one step back, because sometimes people are like, well, I can't say no. Yes, you can. You just have to you have to give yourself permission to do it. You have to value yourself enough to say, you know what? I've already got 6 extra projects. I don't need to take on a 7th, as
Right.
much as I would love to. And I'm speaking from both personal and professional and academic experience. So you got to know when to say enough is enough.
Right.
So that'll help. That'll when you value yourself enough to say this is too much for me, and know that that is okay, and that you don't have to do it all. It's great if you can, but you don't have to. Relieve that pressure off yourself and be like, you know what? I want to do well at what I'm doing. So like if you're a student and you want to do all these extracurriculars, and of course there's parties to go to and there's organizations on campus and just the whole college experience. I was an athlete for 2 years when I first went to college, go around number 1. And keeping the balance was really tough because you're getting to become yourself and you're getting to experience all these new things. So just finding what's important to you and then figuring out how to take care of yourself within that little bubble of importance, I guess, which I know is a very like broad, generic answer, but everybody's different. So
Right.
find what's important to you and then make decisions within the importance bubble that are going to help keep you balanced in whatever is within that importance bubble.
Funny thing you say that. My trainer actually said something similar. She said that she was so focused on other people's needs that she had to put in her schedule when she was going to take a shower that day. Like
Oh, absolutely.
needs like that. And she found that not benefiting one part of her health affected everything else. And like you said, that snowball effect. Like first she was neglecting her physical needs, and then it went to emotional, and then it just went to like a complete collapse. And she had to take a step back. And
Yes.
yeah, so with that being said, when someone wants to start, let's say like a new healthy lifestyle, what would you say is the first step to completely redoing your schedule?
Don't don't do anything cold turkey and don't do anything all or nothing.
Yes.
Those are my so like on either end of the spectrum, back to the balance principle. Don't go one way or the other. Don't quit absolutely everything you want to quit, and don't try to do absolutely everything you want to do all in one shot. I have seen so many people, I don't want to say the word fail because they started over and they didn't like ultimately fail, but with
Like
that
pause,
goal,
pause.
yes, yeah, they had to readjust and rethink, myself included, and it all goes back to that balance. So I think if I were going to give a piece of advice, it would be don't do it all at once and don't quit all at once, depending on which one your goal is.
Right. And
Um,
that puts so much pressure on people. I find like
it
there's this
does.
diet culture out there that essentially motivates people to, if you mess up one day, you're done. You know,
Oh,
you're
it's
done.
an all or nothing
Yeah,
mindset for sure.
exactly. So with pressure, you were a college athlete. I was only a high school athlete. What are some pressures that were put on you that you found like that made it hard for you to balance both that mental and physical health?
Um, well, first of all, my coach was nuts, if I'm being totally honest. She she was out there. And it was not the healthiest environment in general, but outside of the extra craziness that we were all trying to figure out, is this normal? Like, you're only a first time college
Right.
athlete once. Like, you don't know what to
This is
expect.
not what I saw on TV. This is not.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Like, this has not been my experience with
Right.
travel ball. This has not been my, like, what is happening? So aside from the, what do we do here kind of thing, which was tough in itself, there's the pressure from your coach to be this perfect all-star athlete. And then there's the pressure from your advisors and your professors to be this perfect student. Well, any college athletes who are watching this, you know that that's not good balance and that you can't please everyone.
Right.
So that's a lot of pressure. And even if you're not a college athlete, in my experience, the majority of my professors have this, my class is the most important kind of
Yeah.
mentality. And professors, if you're watching this, I'm not trying to be hateful, but understand that we are not just taking your class. We are
Right.
not all traditional students. And it takes a toll when you have, well, let's say you're working a part-time job, you're trying to live your life and have, say what?
Your job comes first too now.
Right, now your job comes first. And all of a sudden your social life gets pushed aside. Well, we're in college. Social life does not get pushed aside. Social life takes a front seat, and that's a-okay, as long as we make sure to find that balance in other areas too. But that unnecessary pressure of perfect student, perfect athlete, perfect worker, perfect this, perfect that, it's like peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay, so you've got your bread slices, right? And let's say you're trying to make just a normal generic peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Have you ever run out of peanut butter or had somebody make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for you and they don't put enough peanut butter on the bread and you can hear the knife scraping against the bread and the peanut butter is just really thin and you can't even taste it? That's kind of, can you tell I like metaphors? If you think about your life like your peanut butter and jelly sandwich and you're trying to be perfect at all of these things, you're overworking, you're underfunctioning, and you become that spread too thin peanut
Yeah.
butter, and you're not good anymore at anything. So and believe me, it is tough. I get it. I'm in grad school now, and the pressure from each professor to be like, well, why wasn't this a priority? I don't know, man. I'm working 60 hours a week because I got bills to pay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
If you want me to stay in your class, I have to go to my job to pay for it. Like it's
right.
just
So it's kind of like, yes, it's this teeter totter. It's this never ending circle. And it is really tough to find that balance. But I think acknowledging that just because you have a professor or a boss or a coach or anyone that you feel like you have to answer to or do answer to in some capacity, that they don't dictate your health. You do. And if you need to take a sick day, whether or not that is mental or physical health, that is up to you. Take a sick day. If you need an extension on a paper, email the professor ahead of time and say, hey, I'm having to pull extra shifts. Can I get a couple days? Like, can I have the weekend to work on it? Take ownership of your life, of your decisions, of what you've got going on. Know when to step back from certain things and when to move forward with others. And eventually it's less of this and then this and then this.
right.
And it starts to become more of this because
Yeah.
this is where we want. But
It
it's a
took me
lot of pressure.
here to get to that point.
Say what?
It took me all of freshman year to get to that point. Because there were points where I was just like, I was focusing so much on trying to work out, like after my classes, I would end up sleeping in the next day. And
Right.
I wanted to go hang out with my friends so bad at night that, again, I was ending up neglecting my sleep. And that affected everything. So,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of going back.
But hanging out with your friends is important. A social, like sociocultural
Yeah.
wellness is one of the 9 dimensions of wellness. And we start to neglect that, our mental and emotional health starts to fade.
Yes.
And then we start to neglect that, physical health and all these different things. So it's that snowball effect and that spread too thin peanut butter and jelly sandwich effect. But the fact that you figured it out and you acknowledged it and you're like, wait a minute, this is too much. This is not working for me. that's the first step, is going, okay, hang on. This
Yeah.
is not good for me. That's the very, very first step, is going, wait a minute. Things could be better. And
And
that's,
yeah, I had to actually step away from a job because I realized that it was just, I kept saying yes to pick up shifts. And
mm-hmm,
I accidentally kept picking up shifts that were interfering with my bio class. And my bio class was the one that I was struggling in. I was like, okay, I need
uh-huh.
this minimum wage job or to stay at LSU. So,
Right,
but
right.
kind of back, you brought up a great point about being an athlete. So, being an athlete in general and being in high school too, you have your day outlined. You have
Mm-hmm.
conditioning at this time. In high school, if we weren't athletes, it was we pretty much woke up at this time. We had lunch at this time always.
There goes
Um,
that.
pretty much eating at the same time every day. So you
Mm-hmm.
have those health components outlined. And going to
Yeah,
college or grad school, that kind of goes away. So we start to have that pressure of, okay, how do I plan my day? Like, when do I get my active time? When do I eat? Like, when do I even sleep at this point? Because in high school, again, it's pretty much laid out for you. You know?
right. School starts at a certain time. Practice starts at a
Yeah.
certain time. The bell rings to tell you when to go to lunch.
When to go to
Like,
class.
oh, right, right.
Right.
So you get to college and all of a sudden you've got Tuesdays and Thursdays off and you don't know what to do because you've never had 2 days a week off.
Yeah.
So how do we manage our time? How do we do this? How do we take care of ourselves? Well, and like you were saying, as an athlete, um, going from high school to college, not having that regularly scheduled exercise, that's a huge change for your body anyway. Um, it's just it, and that's part of, people always say the really cliche thing of college is about finding yourself, and they make it sound like super like,
So easy.
right, like you're just floating like Phoebe on Friends. They make it seem
Yeah.
like a good day for Phoebe on Friends. That's the that is not the college experience. It is rough. It is going to take an entire year to figure out how to balance things. It is going to take time to figure out how to say no to this, or tell your group mates, like, hey guys, you need to pull your weight on this project. Because if you're pulling weight for 3 people, now you're doing 3 times the amount of work, and you're already trying to balance everything else.
Right.
And there's no, that's the thing that I hate, is not being able to give people a definite, here's how to fix this answer. It's not a cookie cutter. It's not a one size fits all. It's a figure out what works for you, and then pick those values and those things of importance, and then the necessities. And then you have to take what's important to you and what's necessary, like paying bills, keeping your grades up, things like that, and figuring out how they meet in the middle to create this nice little like flow of college life.
Right. I have kind of a fun. This is kind of one of my personal questions. So a lot of times we think of getting healthy, we think hitting the gym. What are
Mm-hmm.
some other ways to be active, even if we have just a 30-minute period of time that you would recommend for college students trying just to get started with that new healthy lifestyle?
That's an awesome question. And I remember when we were talking earlier, you mentioned the freshman 15, and this all kind of
Yeah.
goes together. Again, with the pressure and the balance, don't stress about the freshman 15. If you're on a meal plan, you eat what the school provides. You can have whatever you want. There's late night cramming sessions. All of a sudden, you're snacking in the middle of the night to cram for a test. You've got like all kinds of things. Weight is not the only way that we can measure our health. If you go to the doctor and get blood work for whatever reason, if all your hormones and your chemicals are nice and balanced, awesome. That's a metric to measure health.
Right.
Your resting heart rate, your active heart rate, your blood pressure. I know when you're in your like college, like traditional student college age, like 18, 19, 20, 21, sometimes 22, like that age range, blood pressure is not really something that you think to check, just because, I mean, I didn't. Like, I was an athlete. I knew it was a thing, but I was like, no, I'm healthy. I'm good. But so like your blood pressure, your heart rate, whether you like stress, you know how like some people like they'll chew their nails or they'll pick at things. If you
Yes.
start to notice that you develop like little habits like that, you're like, oh, I'm stressed. I should do something about how you feel. Like, are you exhausted? Are you energized? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you possibly depressed? Like, how's your social interaction? What do your finances look like? Are you doing well in your classes? Are you making friends? Do you like your roommate? Like, those are all not necessarily physical health, but they're all ways that we can think about and gauge our wellness. And honestly, when I have people come in, I have a lot of clients that come in and say, I don't want to get on the scale. I don't want to know how much I weigh. And I'm
Like
like, okay,
before.
right.
I just look up.
Yeah, right. The only time I know how much I weigh is when the doctor makes me get on the scale. Otherwise, I pay attention to how my pants fit,
Hmm.
how I feel, and how winded I get during certain cardio exercises like yard work. It's not really a cardio exercise, but like
Oh, it's you
daily. I mean, it can be like, it's not like I'm like, gotta mow my lawn, time for cardio, but
alone. I'm done for the day.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure. But how winded or tired I get doing like daily activities, how my pants fit, how I feel about like after eating a meal. I don't know if that's because of my nutrition background or because I'm not really sure where it started. But have you ever eaten a meal and you're like, ugh, I feel gross, and then
Yes.
eaten a different meal and you're like, oh, like I feel full, I feel fueled, satiated, I feel okay.
Yeah, I feel like I can still move around without just
Right.
the time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So honestly, a lot of our health and wellness is listening to our minds, our bodies, souls, spirits, essences, energies, whatever you want to call it. And it's about how you feel.
Yeah,
And how your pants fit. That's a really easy gauge that I go to. How do your pants fit? How do you feel in your clothes?
right. I love that point because I feel like when I was asking for advice about college, it was just, oh, don't put on the freshman 15. And what we have to understand is that as we get older, our bodies are going to change. Just like
Oh
we
yeah.
mature every year and that's good. We have mental growth. We're also going to have physical growth. And we are going, like, for example, I was a swimmer in high school. I'm going to look different now than when I was swimming 3 or 4 times a day. And
Yes.
hey, and I have to find other things to love about myself. And going off of that body image, we have a question that says, how do you feel about some sororities and clubs that emphasize looking a certain way to join? So, being in Greek life, I know in the past, a lot of times certain organizations had this mold to fit.
Hmm.
Not so much when I did it. I find they are much more inclusive now, but it was very much you had to look a certain way to
Hmm.
be able to be considered for maybe a specific job, a specific organization. And now I feel if someone doesn't want you in their organization because of how you look, you know what they value. You know they don't value anything
Absolutely.
else about you, and you have
Absolutely.
great attributes, and it shouldn't just be what size you are. I
Yeah.
if I find that there's somewhere um a specific type has to join, I will not join that because I know where their priorities like stand.
Good. Good for you. And I'm glad you're
Yes.
the one that said that and not me. Because you're currently the college student. You're currently the one living what I was living however many years ago. I haven't done the math. Uh, you, you're the one that's living it and experiencing it right now. And first of all, bravo to you for understanding that you have more value than your physical appearance. Like,
Yeah.
good for you. College kids, if you're listening,
So much.
start thinking like that now. Don't wait till you're
Yeah.
like 30. Because you have value no matter what you look like, whether Greek life says you do or not. That's an awesome point too. I'm glad you brought that up. That's very important to understand that you're Kathleen, and that means so many different things. It doesn't
Yeah.
just have to be, hi, I'm Kathleen, and this is how much I weigh, and this is the size of pants that I wear, and I'm an Aquarius, and like whatever. Like, okay, that's great. That's cool. That's who
Right.
you are. But like, you're smart and you're funny and you're easy to talk to and fun to be. Like, there's so many. You're welcome. There's so many different things that make you who you are. And the number on the scale,
Yes.
who genuinely cares about that? Not anybody you want to keep around.
And I remember talking to you one day, and the first thing you said, like, again, with like figuring out where you are health wise, was like you were talking about the importance of like what your squat looks like. And I was like,
Mhm.
That is such a good point. For so long, healthy was just how much do you weigh? Okay, like, just going from that instead of like, what does your squat look like? How do you feel when you wake up? Do you feel
Yeah.
wake up or do you have to go back to sleep? So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So, knowing what you know now, would you have done anything differently when you were younger?
Oh my goodness. The list is long. Let's see. Hmm. If I could pick one thing to do differently, because the list is so long, we don't have time to go through everything I'd do differently. Um, Self-worth, honestly, like
Yeah.
you saying, like, if they don't value me for who I am and they only care about what I look like, who cares? Because it was kind of like I was fighting against my own profession in personal training to make people look a certain way, to make people fit an aesthetic, to do a workout in a certain manner. And it was kind of like I knew what the difference between like health and an aesthetic is. And like I knew all of these things, but the social pressure kind of held me back. So I feel like if I knew what I know now, like more holistically, then I would have had more of a forget the media. You are valuable. I am valuable. Here is why we are people that deserve to be treated fairly equally, nicely, equitably, no matter what we look like, no matter how we move, whether we're an athlete or not, what kind of foods we choose, we still have value as human beings. And I think if I had embraced that mentality a little bit earlier, I probably wouldn't have had as many struggles on my own health journey. And I probably would have been a more effective coach, trainer, counselor, whatever you want to call it. Um, but embracing that you have value, like just inherently you have value as a person. I think setting that foundation is an amazing way to start, because if you value yourself as a person, your workouts don't become, I have to fit into this dress. Your
Right.
workouts become, I want to get stronger. I want my squat form to improve. I want to hit, XYZ on my next max session, or I want to get more flexible in my yoga class so I can keep up with the instructor, or like the
Oh,
lady in the back that's like crazy good. So there's all different, it doesn't have to be just weightlifting, or it
right.
could be running, dancing, weightlifting, strength training of any sort, flexibility of any sort. I don't know, being able to balance on one foot for a long time. Like there's all different ways that you can set health and wellness goals that aren't how you look or
Yeah.
what you weigh.
I'm so glad everyone gets to hear this. Just your whole point about self worth and self love is just such a great note. Just to, like this whole session, I feel like can be wrapped around to just. I feel like the main points are the snowball effect, saying no, of course, and
Yeah.
just worth. So wrapping up, if we want to reach you for a consultation or to schedule an appointment, what are some ways we can reach you, or what's your social media? How can we reach you?
So right now I'm figuring out some employment options for health coaching and whatnot. But I also understand that college students and just people in general, not everyone can afford those kind of services. And since I love doing it so much, I try and put as much information on my social media as possible. So my Instagram handle is Healthy Happy You. My Facebook is Happy Healthy You. They're flipped because someone already had it on one of them and I wasn't changing them both.
Yeah,
And then my YouTube channel, which I'm going to be posting to a little bit more, is Jennifer Sare Wellness. And I think we can tag them
yeah, those should be
below.
below on YouTube and Facebook.
Perfect. So if you want to join the group on Facebook, follow me on Instagram and YouTube. I try to post as much information as possible. I have a podcast also. I forgot about that. I just started it.
What is it?
I just started it.
I
It's
need
on
to know.
it's on Spotify and Anchor, and I think it's Happy Healthy You Weekly Wellness, or I don't know. We'll tag it too, because I just started that. But I like being able to put good information out there, even if it's just like small, like empowering sentences, like when you're overworked, you underfunction, or you find that balance that works for you. Health is individualized, things like that. Even if it's just like a reminder that you have value just inherently as a human being. So I like to post that kind of stuff. But I mean, anytime anybody DMs me and asks like, hey, can you help with this? I always answer those as fast as I can. So feel free to reach out in any way. Follow on social media. I don't know, the more we can kind of overturn that diet culture mentality,
Mhm.
like that's kind of the goal, is to flip the script a little bit and let people be who they are and embrace life.
Yes. Yeah, I'll definitely be checking out that podcast.
Okay.
I'll hear
It's a
more.
little rough. I'm still working out some kinks, but it's out there.
Yeah, that's Happy Healthy You, the podcast, or
Yes. But there's several of them, so it's my face, so that way people knew that it was me, because there's a lot of people that have that name on. Um, yes, I can. There's a lot of people that have that name on Spotify, so it's a picture of my face, so everyone knew who was talking.
Yeah, okay. And yeah, Jenny, if you could go ahead and type those down below, we can get those posted so that we can all, follow you and see what's going on and hear more of this.
Yeah.
Okay, besides that, I hope everyone enjoyed. Thank you so much for meeting with me. I could talk to you all day. This is
Yeah,
great.
same. This was great. Thank you so much for asking me. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Hopefully, it helps a couple people here and there.
Yes, it helps for sure. All right.
Good.
Well, bye everyone.